This is the Bitcoin Otter Radio Show.
Oh my God, I love you so much!
On 97.7 FM, The City.
Greetings, blessings, and good fortune, everybody. It's another Thursday. It's an October Thursday. Here we are, coming at you from the McAllen Creative Incubator on 97.7 KCYP, The City, out of McAllen, Texas. We're also going to you YouTube, Facebook, TuneIn Radio, and Radio Garden apps. Yeah, so it's a busy night here at the incubator. Everything was nice and calm just until we were going to do the show. And then blammo, we got drums in the background. We've got vacuum cleaners. We've got workers drilling on who knows what in the ceiling. Anyway, we're coming at you regardless. We're not going to let this stuff stop us, just like Trump is going to let some communist judges stop the agenda that we voted for. All right, let me get up on the wires, as it were. We're going to open up on the Bitcoin Otter Facebook, the Christopher Ott Facebook. And you know what? I think I'm going to go to the YouTube one. I think it was Sister Sue, last time, told us that it was easier to see, and it wasn't, how would you say, staggering. It wasn't blinking. It wasn't whatever. So I'm going to get up on this here. We've got Joe in the back. He's got everything on our, restream, which will hopefully show everything that's going on. And we're going to get the Bitcoin Otter show on here on YouTube. So hopefully it'll be a cleaner type of broadcast as far as any, glitches, delays, whatever. So let's see here. I see it pop up. I've got a completely different shirt on, so that's not today. Let's see. What do we got here? I got a lot of different shirts on, so none of these are today. Maybe we'll get something. That was streamed 1 month ago. So let me see if I can. No, it's not. It's not happening. So I guess I'll just rely on Joe's assessment of what's going on there. So I'm going to go over to the Christopher Ott one.
Barry says it's on your YouTube.
Okay, thanks, Barry. Good to see you. Good to hear from you again, Barry. We got some stuff to talk about today. Man, it was it's just one of those things where people going crazy. And I think it's a good sign. Honestly, I'm not spinning this just to say that, hey, craziness and chaos can work in the favor of America. I mean, it might sound like a spin, but the fact of it is a good thing. It is good that we are able to see in real time the deep state floundering the way it is. It is in a shambles. They are scrambling to get anything that they could call realistic, passed. And when that doesn't work, they go full on communist. And I'm going to get into that in a minute. It's crazy. So the Bitcoin Otter Facebook, as you would imagine, is not coming through very well. So that's just par for the course. But we shall soldier on. Now, the economic Sue, hey, you won't be able to pick on you as we're out to dinner to celebrate. Hey, you passed your civics test. Awesome. Sue passed her civics test. That is so cool, man. Way to go, Sue. Hello, Dad. Jim, if you're out there, you guys have a great dinner. Congrats, Sue. Love you, sis. That's awesome news. So I'll have to call them on the way home after them being, two or more of them. Sue doesn't have pronouns like that, okay? She's proudly female. Thank you very much. And been that way since she was born. Anyway. Oh, Barry, what you got?
I watch it on YouTube, on my TV, and comment on Facebook.
Oh, cool. All right. Awesome, Barry. I'm telling you, you've become a pillar of the Bitcoin Otter Show, and I appreciate that. In fact, if you ever want to come down here, you got an open invitation to sit in and share your observations and your opinions with us live on Ed Studio if you'd like. Let's see. So we have Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. What an opportunity. people want to cry, and as long as you're not leveraged in this stuff, and again, I'm not a financial advisor. I have no tie on. There's no, bowler hat, nothing. I got nothing that would indicate to you that I am a financial advisor. So don't ever get that wrong idea about me. I am not. However, I will tell you right now is a great opportunity. I wrote down on the notes that I did at the house pre-show, $108,500. I come in here just to check. I did it. It's down 600 from that. 107,900 about 5 minutes ago, right? Ladies and gents, the thing I want to tell you is if you get into this crypto thing, do not do leveraged trading. I have a friend that I met on the wire, so to speak. He's a colleague of mine, and he deeply regrets getting into leveraged trading. Now, this is a guy who's got a great future in crypto. He could easily quit his job tomorrow and live on his gains in crypto, but he doesn't. And I trust that he didn't, overstep himself and wipe himself out. But at the same time, I think he substantially had a substantial drawback in his holdings simply because those leveraged plays, they can leverage your profits, but also your losses. So be very, very careful with that. I shouldn't have said, don't do it. You do you. Okay. But just be well advised that it's not all that it would be, prudent to get into. Okay. So here's something. And I guess that advice could go for the banks too. The ones that are cheating us in the silver and gold market, because gold, ladies and gentlemen, is $4,337 an ounce. Ladies and gentlemen, the all-time high was well under 4,000, and we just blew through that. And now we're at 4,337. Craziness. Silver, ladies and gentlemen, don't sleep on this, please. It's dollar days in silver. What do you mean by that, Otter? Well, it's not my invention. I think it was Bix Weir started it, maybe not. But what he said was that there will come days, and this was a while back, there will come days when the silver market will rise $1 a day or more. And we're in that. We're seeing that. $54.48. To give you an idea, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll do this, I guess, in a way that I can go backwards on. So I'm going to go to, I guess I'll do it in Grok. So we'll go to Grok, and we're just going to ask Grok, and then we'll do it speaking here. And let's see. Grok, what was the price of silver on this date last year in 2024? Okay, so let's stop and let's see what it says. See what it says. And I think I cut it off before. Grok, what was the price of silver on today's date last year?
On October 16th last year, silver closed at
$31.67, ladies and gents. $31.67 last year, today's date. 1 year. I'm not good at math. If anybody's out there is good at math and percentages and stuff, what do you think the percentage? We're gonna go 31 minus 54. We won't even talk about the cents, right? So 31 minus 54 is 23. So 23 is what percent of 31? It's a huge percent. That's what it is. Exact amounts are regardless. All that stuff is not a math show. All right? No math here. Okay? None of it. We won't have it. So what I'm telling you right now is that silver is way, way up. Do not sleep on silver if you like your portfolio. Okay? Please don't sleep on silver. So I'm going to switch off over here. We got the Bitcoin Otter show on the Bitcoin Otter Facebook. I might have to go. It looks like I'm going to have to go and switch that to the Christopher Ott, and we'll figure that out henceforth. So again, we're having difficulties, but Facebook is not our friend. Facebook is not your friend. Facebook is no one's friend. In fact, an interesting story about Facebook, and I think I've told you guys this before. The Three Letters agencies had a program, a I guess you could call it an op. Yeah. And they called it LifeLog. And they were gathering all of our emails, all of our correspondence, all of our videos, all of our texts, everything. And they called it LifeLog. See, LifeLog had a born on date. And that date was, I don't know, years prior to the date I'm going to tell you. But it also had a death date. And that death date coincided with the birth date of Facebook. Yes. So that LifeLog died. And at the same time, Facebook comes up. That's a coincidence? I think not. So what I'm going to have to say is that we have a situation where we can make money in Bitcoin because it's down. We can make money in silver because it's up. Why am I saying that? Ladies and gentlemen, I've read, I don't know if I included it. I don't think I did in my notes, but silver isn't going to be around for our purchase for a lot longer, in my opinion. Again, no tie, no hat, nothing. But at some point or another, when Joe Sixpack wakes up to the fact that silver's going through the roof and he can still buy some, yeah, that's basically when it goes. It's gonna go from there, and I don't think much is gonna stop it. I don't know, hundreds. Some people say in the thousands. Silver's gonna go. I don't know. You look it up. Do your own research. But the fact remains. Barry says, just had a guest come in, so won't be commenting much. All right, Barry, you have a great night, and say hello to your guest for me, please. I'm sure it's a vibrant and patriotic American that you have over there at your house, sharing time with you. So I'm going to go through the average mortgage rates. They're still ugly. 30-year rate is 6.36%. Yeah, 6.36% in the days of Trump. They are really trying to sabotage this administration. It ain't gonna work though. No, we gave him a mandate. Yeah, we gave that Trump guy a mandate. Do things our way and do them your way because your way is our way. So that's what we're doing. So what we're going to end up having to do is just wait out the communism because you can't vote things out. They cheat. So what we're going to have to do is figure out a way to just keep on keeping on. And that's what we're going to do. And we're winning. We're winning. Now, as you know, we'd like to do a verse of the week. And we got that coming to you from Psalms. It's from Psalm 34:17. The righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all their troubles. Ladies and gentlemen, he will deliver us. We are not righteous because we're good. We are not righteous because we're angels. We're righteous because Jesus is. And Jesus conveys that upon us. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. So, this is out of Cointelegraph. 48 new Bitcoin treasuries popped up in just 3 months. This is from Bitwise that they published on Cointelegraph anyway. 48 new Bitcoin treasuries. What is this all about? Well, it is surmised, it is guessed that to some degree or another, unknown to me, Bitcoin is manipulated in some way, some form or fashion. I'm not sure. I don't know about that. Yeah, there are a lot of Bitcoin indexes out, which would mean that they're not really investing in Bitcoin. They're investing in what Bitcoin does in reality. And then based on that, you have people with Federal Reserve notes betting on the ups and downs. Yeah, I suppose that could in some way, in an artificial sense, in an artificial financial world, the way we are with the fake paper dollars, like the Federal Reserve notes, fake. It's all smoke, mirrors, and debt. A lot of debt, more debt than anything else. So, yeah, maybe it is manipulated, but if it is, the reason it's down to where it's at is so them big boys can get in. So if there's 48 new Bitcoin treasuries that popped up in 3 months, oh, ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking about this for over a year now, how nation states, states within nations, corporations, and retail private citizens are jumping into Bitcoin. It's, in my opinion, a blessing that it came down. It really is, because more people can get into it. Yeah, I don't really care about the big boys. They can just get fatter all they want. But this is an opportunity. And like silver, the opportunity in Bitcoin might not last that much longer. Sure, there's other cryptos out there, but Bitcoin is the big daddy, and it's the one that decentralized the whole process of wealth preservation. that we can be the bank. And that's why the banks hate it, in truth. So a news outlet called Times Now World commented on, and there's so many people, so many news outlets commenting on this Trump quote, that he says that 8 months in, 8 wars averted. And that's true. At least 8, right? So how many times? And he's got the list, and I'm not going to put the list out there because, it's just one of those things where we're not going to remember them anyway. Some of them didn't really even make a blip across our attention span. But suffice it to say that Donald Trump is establishing himself as a peacenik, if you will, somebody who is thriving on and creating peace. And the fact of the matter is, he is going to continue to make peace as the desperation of the deep state comes to a fevered pitch. So what they're doing, in effect, is they're struggling in a last-ditch effort to retain control. They want control, and when I say they, I mean, the international bankers, the people you can't really criticize. And you know where I'm going with that, some of you. There's certain things you just can't say and remain on Facebook. So I'm not going to say it, yet you know what I mean, right? You know that some people are who they say they are, and other people just aren't. And that's where I'm going with this. There are, and I'm thinking of a complete country that has basically lied about who they are for not quite a century now, but for quite a long time. So those are the kind of people that you can't count their wealth in dollars because they'll just create more. They'll just create more Federal Reserve notes, and then they're richer than you thought they were a minute ago. So anyway, they are desperate, and they're going to do whatever they can, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But what I want to do is briefly come back to silver. So this is out of Zero Hedge. This week, silver broke through a 45-year ceiling, and this is an old article, a day old, because it said it briefly hit 53.55. Well, as you know, it's already slam dunking that over $1. But this was not just a price move. It was a systemic rupture, says Zero Hedge. A systemic rupture. Behind the scenes, the London Bullion Market Association, LBMA, if you've ever heard of that in regard to silver, that's what it is. London Bullion Market Association. They're the ones who have to deliver all this silver in the futures markets if the short sellers, like those huge banks, can't come up with it. There is not enough physical silver to cover bullion in spot contracts. So if you get in the commodities market and you decide, you know what, I don't want to settle in cash, pay me my silver now, as Bix Weir sings. A great song, Pay Me My Silver Now. So they're not going to be able to do it pretty soon. And that doesn't bode well for us, the retail customers. It means we're not going to be able to get it. So hopefully you're listening to me. McFly, if you're out there, please try to get yourself some silver in your own possession. Don't let anybody else have it unless you're, like the place I like to use, Precious Metals, Texas Precious Metals. They have a vault there, and you go in there. It's only in 6 hours away here from Texas, from McAllen. It's in Shiner, and you can see your own silver right there. You go in there, they open up the room, boom, there's your silver. You go back in, weeks later, a month later, whatever, there's your silver again. Same silver. And it's not anybody else's, it's yours. Anyway, so it says that there's not enough physical silver to cover the bullion and spot contracts. Leasing costs have surged 30 to 100%. Leasing is another scam that I don't know enough about to talk to you about it. I really don't. And in an extremely rare twist, spot prices have flipped above futures, signaling an extreme stress in physical supply chains. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do an Otter translation here. So when these authors say that in an extremely rare twist, and perhaps it is, spot prices, that's what they price it at in the criminally run commodities exchange. Spot prices on silver have flipped above futures. So futures are, hey, it's going to be this price, that price. Well, the spot price doesn't usually eclipse that, but it has. And this is what they say. These are the words they use, and I will tell you what they really mean. Signaling extreme stress in the physical supply chain. What they really mean is, holy crap, We don't have it to cover. We're ass out. That's what it means. That's what it means. Ladies and gentlemen, get your silver while you can. If you need any help with that, it's going to be Bitcoin Otter at secure.com. Texas Precious Metals pays me 0.00 cents. Okay? They don't pay me a thing. I just like them because, whenever I do buy a little bit, and please don't get the impression that I am a silver mogul. I got a couple coins I can give away for birthdays and stuff, but that's about it. Anyway, this is what a paper market looks like, they say. When it really hits, years of leverage, speculation, synthetic contracts, and supply illusion have built a system that only functions as long as no one calls for delivery. This week, people did call for delivery, and the market buckled. Ladies and gentlemen, this could be, and there are many people out there prognosticating, I like that word, prognosticating, that it's going to be silver that takes down the banks. Why? Why do they say that? Well, because they are the ones that are extremely, I guess you could say, over leveraged in silver, because they've been cheating us out of our prices, our money in silver and gold for so long that they're way, way over positioned. And if many people, not just a few, but many people demand delivery of the silver for the contracts they've signed into, then they're done. They're done because they're going to have to go out into the world, outsource all their purchasing. That will raise the price right there. And then they'll have to get it at prices that are astronomical, and then they will collapse. And then what happens to your bank account? I don't want to go down that road because I don't really know. So here's something I want to get into. Okay. We're not quite at the halfway point. We're not quite at the half hour, but I want to get into this. So there are, ladies and gentlemen, people in this world that are in places of authority because of their political affiliation, because of who they know, and because of the color of their skin. How do I find what might or might not be? And I don't call that race either, by the way. They do. The usual suspects call it race. We're only one race, ladies and gents. It doesn't matter how much melanin you have. You're still a human, okay? I'm still a human. Joe's still a human. We're all humans, okay? If you're bipedal and speak English, Spanish, Russian, I don't know, whatever, French, you're a human, ladies and gents. The amount of melanin that your skin possesses does not make you a different race, a different species in any way. You are a human, okay? Why do I say that? Because the system of the religion called science with a $sign wants you to think that we are different, so let's be divided. We're not. But there are people that live that way, and I'm gonna show you some of them. This one here is a ridiculous example of a Supreme Court justice, Ms. Ketanji Brown. Okay, guys, I don't know if it was today, yesterday, or whatever. She likened black voters to disabled Americans. I think I might even have this on my my outlet here. So let me see. We've got Supreme. No, I don't even read it. This is not me being crazy, and I am crazy, but this is not me going outside the lines here. She uses this jargon, I guess, and she says this. She says, I guess I'm thinking this is her. These are not my words. This is Ketanji for you here. If you want to hang out with her, just call her Ketty or Ketanji, or call her what you'd like. I guess I'm thinking of it. This is her. I guess I'm thinking of it. The fact that remedial action, absent discriminatory intent, is really not a new idea in the civil rights laws. She says again, and she goes on. And my kind of paradigmic example of this is something like the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. That was me, quotes. Congress passed the Americans with Disabilities Act against the backdrop of a world that was generally not accessible to people with disabilities. Sounds fair enough, right? Wheelchairs, etc. And so this is her again. And so it was discriminatory in effect because these folks were not able to access these buildings. And it didn't matter whether the person who built the building or the person who owned the building intended for them to be exclusionary. That was irrelevant. Here she goes again. This is it. Congress said the facilities have to be made equally open to people with disabilities if readily possible. I guess I don't understand why that's not happening here. She's referring to voting, ladies and gentlemen. The idea in Section 2 is that we are responding to current day manifestations of past and present decisions that disadvantage minorities and make it so they don't have equal access to the voting system. They're disabled, she said. These are her words. Minorities are disabled, she says. In fact, we use the word disabled in Milligan, referring to some case that I know nothing of. She says, we say that in a way which you see that these processes are not equally open. Ladies and gentlemen, how did these people make the bench with these ridiculous arguments? What is it about a person based on the color of their skin making it to or not making it to a polling place? Like the American Disabilities Act is there so that if you have a wheelchair and there's a flight of stairs in front of you, you're not going to make it up those stairs without risking danger. So you have to build a ramp for that person to get up. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, the color of your skin doesn't hurt you walking up steps. The color of your skin doesn't keep you from getting a driver's license to show at a polling place to tell them who you are and that you are indeed an American citizen. And in Mexico, you have to show ID. In fact, the voters in Mexico have a voter ID. It's a registration ID. You see, the Mexican people are smarter than the American communists. Okay, no, you know what? I shouldn't say that. The American communists are divisive and really, really cagey, okay? They're really cagey, and they're going to figure out ways around logic. They don't usually deal in logic, so they talk about people being disabled based on their skin color. And maybe she didn't get the full effect of what it was that she was saying. Perhaps she didn't extrapolate beyond the words that she was speaking into how they would come across the average American psyche. And maybe she thinks that the average American is just somebody that doesn't look like you or me. Maybe that's the case too. But what I've found is people who speak like this, people who say things like this, have an agenda, and it's possible, probable even, that most of them get paid to include themselves in that agenda. Now, what I would like to say, first and foremost about this subject, is that it doesn't end here. These judges, and I want to say I saw an article saying something along the lines of 100. Hey, we got, and it was a communist. Hey, we got 173 or 72, 4 or 5 progressive judges on the bench during the Biden years, and they were proud of that subversion of justice. They really are proud of the subversion of justice that people like Ketanji create. So she wants to say that because black people have the color that they have, they're just as good and human as anybody else, yet somehow disabled to vote. In Louisiana, ladies and gentlemen, who runs Louisiana? Okay, if you don't believe me, look up at the lists of representatives of Louisiana. Look up the Baton Rouge City Council. Look up the New Orleans representation. They're Ketanji's color. Not wrong, not bad, just same. Do you think they've created a system whereby black people would be disabled? I don't think so. In fact, I know not. I know that's not the case. I know it is not the case. So what is she getting at? She's getting at the fact that they want to gerrymander these districts into, and yeah, both, I will tell you right now, Republicans are just as bad at it, right? So, we're glitching here on Facebook again. Let me see if I can get it in the Christopher Ott. This is not good, but this is Facebook. Facebook is just not good. So what we have here is an example of them lying, an example of them cheating, an example of them trying to convince you that the voting rules need to be changed to favor some demographic that the deep state believes they have in their pocket. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Black people are not hanging with this stuff anymore. You've seen videos, you've looked around, they're not buying this stuff anymore. They're not going to stay on the reservation. They're gone, man. You see the man on the street in interviews that ask black people, hey, do you have a driver's license? Yes, of course. Did you find it hard to get it? Did you find that it was made difficult? No. So the reasoning behind Ketanji and those judge types is faulty at best, criminal in practice. So in other good news, John Bolton was indicted on 18 counts. The warmonger, Captain Mustache. Yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. I don't have a ton of info on it. We are at the halfway mark, and I'm going to tell you that we're coming at you on 97.7 KCYP, the city out of McAllen, Texas. We're at the McAllen Creative Incubator that seems to have many different ways to distract you, but we're not going to let it happen. We're going to go on with this show. We're going to go on also on Radio Garden and TuneIn Radio apps. Great apps. You could hear music and talk throughout the whole world. I kid you not, the whole world. So a few more things we have here. And if you have any comments, Joe, I'm out. They got me out. So hopefully if anything pops up, it'll be on Restream. So what we have is a situation where it's not just, you would think, okay, Clinton appointees, Biden appointees, Obama appointees, oh man, they're communists, and that might be. But let me tell you about what the Gateway pundit said. I'm just going to give you the headline. Bush appointed judge. Ladies and gents, it doesn't matter who appointed them. If you're a closet communist, it's not going to be pretty. Bush appointed judge tosses IRS whistleblower's libel suit against Hunter Biden's attorney. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know the nuts and bolts about this, but the fact of the matter is, with an abundance of evidence to back it up, Hunter Biden is a sad sack, okay? And the things that were on his laptop were legitimate, and it had him abusing children. So anything that comes against him that is dismissed, look into it for yourself. I'm not going to say anything based on a headline, but I added that just to show you that the Bush crime family is just as, maybe even deeper in the muck, as my buddy Walter Sobchak would say. Face down in the muck is the Bush family, the Bush criminal family, because, they're just as bad as the others. And maybe they're part of Con Inc. Maybe they're part of the neocons, if you'd rather call them, than communists as most Democrats are. That's fine. That's fine if you want to call them that. But fact of the matter is that they're criminals, just as bad or worse than the others. Great Java. So here's another one. Judge orders Tuesday removal of fence. Now there's fencing around these ICE facilities. Let me preface this. As you know, ICE facilities have been under attack. In fact, I'm going to diverge here a bit. Part of the attack is this. The deep state players, the insurrectionists, the communists, whatever you want to call them, they are at war with us. They have declared war. There was an insurgency. There was an infiltration, and it is ongoing. I believe that we, the patriots, of course, it had to happen with the military. They're behind it. They're behind the counterinsurgency. I'm convinced of it. I have the sauce. If you'd like to contact me at bitcoinotter@secure.com, please do so. Hit me up on Facebook, Messenger, whatever you want to do. Anyway, I've got the sauce. So the counterinsurgency is so far a swimming success. However, you do know that there are still insurgents on the benches, in the halls of Congress, things of that nature, the puppets, the stooges, the stoolies that the deep state hires to do their evil deeds. So when we look at things like judicial activism and this whole thing about the shutdown, right, which is now in its 16th day, I think. Today's the 16th, I believe, of October, and it started on the 1st. So 16 days so far of furlough, meaning government employees, if they're not deemed essential, are not going to work, and they're on furlough. So the difference is the essential ones are going to work. They're still on furlough, but it looks like most of them won't get paid. So this is an attempt by the usual suspects, the deep state, the communists, the Khazarian mafia, whatever you want to call them. This is an attempt by them. It's an act of war. Why? Yes, the Republicans, the dunces in the Republican Party have also shut down the government. Sometimes you might say for a good reason, because the criminals, the usual suspect wanted to ram some, hey, let's make all teachers wear dresses, whether they have male genitalia or not, teaching our kids, something like that. Yeah, we're not gonna fund that. So I understand, but at the same time, this is what we would consider resistance, and it's going to go on as long as they want it. The Schumer guy, the Hakeem Jeffries guy, those guys, right? So in this war against you and me, Joe Patriot, no offense to Joe, the Patriot behind the cameras, this is how they do business. This is how they do war. It's dirty. It's disgusting. And a judge orders that a Tuesday removal of the fence at the Broadview ICE facility in Chicago must happen. Why? Because there is a No Kings NGO funded. None of this is grassroots. None of it. These people are being paid. So this No Kings protest is coming up, and they want to make sure that the ICE facility is vulnerable. I'll repeat that. The scheduled resistance, revolt, revolution against you and me, patriots, you and I, the patriots of America, trying to clean up our country via the mandate we gave the man that we put into the executive office. That's going to be derailed in Chicago by and everywhere across the country. These No Kings things. How do I know? You might think, hey, Otter, how do you know it's funded by those people? Well, when you watch it, wherever you watch, hopefully it's not TV, you're going to see brand new signs. You're going to see brand new T-shirts with this No Kings thing. You're probably going to see those caps that are brand new and all that stuff. You're going to see it brand new because it's been, contracted out and paid for by our stolen tax dollars. So as Doge taught us when they did the deep dive into the bowels of American financing at the governmental level, they saw that our tax dollars were being stolen to fund counter, I guess you could say, things that were anti-American. So they work against what you and I stand for, and they work against what America stands for. But hey, they had free, and to some degree still do have free access to our tax dollars. So they're going to steal it, and they're going to use it the way they want to use it. And part of that is No Kings, right? Same thing with what BLM was, same thing with Trans-Tifa, all those things. That's what we have to deal with. But actually, ladies and gents, we don't have to deal with it. The military is going to pick it up, and they're going to deal with it, not us. The Second Amendment is there, and God bless it, but we're not going to need it. We don't have to resort to violence. The military is going to take care of this. So, yeah, they're going to do that. And the district judge is LaShonda Hunt. Yeah, Katanji, LaShonda. They're not liking us, ladies and gentlemen. They're not liking us, Americans. They just don't like America, apparently. So, we also have, where was that? I have a few notes here. I guess I didn't write that one down. But if you guys remember, and I mentioned Doge, there was a kid, 19 years old. His name, his moniker was Big Balls, right? He was a 19-year-old kid in the Doge, a whiz kid or whatever, working with Musk and all those guys that were trying to root out the corruption in our government. And this kid was walking around Washington, D.C., and got the living snot beat out of him by a couple of kids. These couple of kids happen to be black kids, right, in Washington, D.C., and they got him. They got the two kids. I guess they were both 15, but man, they really messed up this Doge kid, 19-year-old kid, calls himself Big Balls. But he did the country a service. If you ever want to revisit that, he found a lot of the trash and the theft and all that skullduggery in Washington just by using his computer. Anyway, he was beaten, assaulted, right, bloodied, busted up, and apparently these kids just got some light slap on the wrist and were thrown back into their element. So you look at the judge and yeah, the judge is not named LaShonda. The judge is not named Katanji, but the judge is who the judge is. So how do I, and I'm going to use their term, racist, how do I judge if something seems racist or not? It's a pretty simple litmus test. What I do is I trade the melanin content of the victim and the perpetrator. So if one is one color and the other is a different color, I trade that, and then I ask myself, what in an average courtroom, American courtroom, would occur if the colors were reversed? How do I arrive at this? Well, I look at things like the George Floyd phenomena. I look at things like other police. What was the guy's name? George Zimmerman. Okay, who was what you and I would call an Hispanic man, but since he had a mom, I guess his mom or his dad was a white guy, then he was white, and they went after him because his noodle, his bean was being smashed against the cement by a kid named Trayvon that Obama said could have been his kid. So I guess his kid could have played basketball with somebody else's skull. I don't know how that worked for Obama. But the fact of the matter is, if you reverse the colors, imagine how the justice system would then rule on the case. That is my litmus test for finding if someone is maybe ruling in a way that takes color into account over and above the deed, be it a crime, be it an action. Is it criminal? Is it not? So many people in this country are judged solely on the basis of how much melanin they have in their skin. So yeah, that goes both ways. So what I'm going to do is, and I don't know, do we have any comments on the board, Joe?
Barry says, since taker downers aren't essential personnel. Sorry, Judge.
Yes, exactly. And she is a federal judge, Barry. That is so correct. She's a federal judge, so how can she rule in a Chicago district? Well, I guess they go again. I'm not a lawyer either. In addition to not being a financial advisor, I'm not a lawyer, and lawyers are shysters anyway. I don't want to be one of those. I'm not a judge either. My name is Christopher. But anyway, I don't know how that all works, but apparently the city probably got somebody to bring it down, or maybe they got the ICE guys. I guess because it was a federal facility, she decided that she's going to order the ICE guys that are essential, very much so, and are not getting paid to take down the fence. So now, who knows what's going to happen? But remember, this is a strategy they use because they want to hurt people. They want violence. So what do you do to make violence? What do you do to create it? You pay people who have spent their life on their mom's couch, okay, eating a lot of soy, right? And that soy makes them vulnerable to things like television mantras about Orange Man bad. So then you become this person, and a lot of them, they pierce their bodies in many different ways. They color their hair, and they think that empowers them to go out and fight people with pepperball guns and helmets and things like that. And I think that's what we're going to see at this No Kings revolt, I hate to, break their bubble, burst it. There are no kings in America. Who's fooled you? Who have you been listening to that you believe that there are kings in America? There are no kings. There are no dictators. Young man or woman or whatever you are who wants to go out and hurt people on the streets of Chicago or any other American city, know that we Americans put Donald Trump into office. We did this. Of all colors, all shapes, sizes, religions, we Americans did this against the criminal acts of the people that you are fighting for and being paid by, okay, the globalists. So we're against them. And we're not out on the streets fighting you because we have the rightful fighters, defenders out there. That's what this whole deployment is. It's a slow roll of what is unfortunately probably going to happen in summer of 26 before the midterms, like the summer of love of 2020, burning stuff down. Patriots don't do that. Communists do that, right? It's happened since 1700s, 1800s. The same families, ladies and gentlemen, the same bloodlines are ruling what is going on with us. Don't be fooled. This is not grassroots by any means. And these people are just clowns. They're puppets. But the fact is, they could do some harm. So in order to facilitate that harm, what's her name? LaShonda decided that she was going to order them to take down the fence. Just because maybe they could, maybe those soy boys couldn't launch a Molotov cocktail over the fence. Maybe they throw like girls. So maybe LaShonda says, hey, give them a friggin' chance, man. Everybody wants the Molotov, Now, I don't know if she talks like that, but I could see maybe Pauly Shore talking like that. Anyway, these weaklings are not going to prevail against those highly trained patriots, okay, at that facility. And I'll tell you what, the more we look at this stuff, the more stark the difference is between those people who hate America and those people who want to retain, dare I say, conserve, being conservative of American values. Okay? It's there for you to see in stark contrast. So if you can't see it, turn off your TV. That's probably the problem. Anyway, that's all I have for today. Barry, does Barry have anything else? All right. I'm going to sign out, ladies and gents. We only have 10 minutes left anyway. So I'm going to sign out. I would love to wish you blessings. I want to say that God has allowed us to have this country for near 250 years. And I'm old enough to have seen the bicentennial, the 200 year, and that was cool in 76. I think in 2026, we're going to be in a lot better position than we are today. Lord willing, we're going to see a lot of events, a lot of stuff's going to happen. And we're still in a process of recovering from the insurrection, the infiltration from within. But ladies and gentlemen, if the Bible is true, and that's a given for me, then if we who call ourselves by his name, humble ourselves and call to him, we will see results. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what's happening. Our country is being taken back. And we, ladies and gentlemen, are winning. God bless you. God bless your family. And God bless America. Otter's out.
This is the Bitcoin Otter Radio Show
Oh my God, I love you so much.
on 90.